It all began on a warm summer afternoon in June. The wedding bells had just quieted, and I was now officially Mrs. Emily Bennett, married to the love of my life, Nathan Bennett. After a whirlwind romance that started in college and a 2-year engagement filled with its share of ups and downs, we finally said our vows in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family in Charleston, South Carolina. Our honeymoon was the one thing I had meticulously planned for over 6 months. I wanted it to be perfect, something unforgettable that we'd cherish for the rest of our lives. We chose Hawaii, specifically Maui, because it struck the perfect balance between luxury and adventure. It was ideal for both our personalities. I was the type to read a book on the beach under the setting sun, while Nathan was always chasing the next thrill, hiking, snorkeling, anything outdoors. I wanted this trip to offer something for both of us, a true start to our new life together. When we landed in Maui, it felt like stepping into a dream. The soft scent of hibiscus floated in the air, and the warm breeze gently brushed against our skin as we stepped out of the airport. Nathan wrapped his arm around my shoulders and leaned in to whisper, "This is going to be amazing." I smiled, knowing he was right. Our resort was nestled right on the coastline. The rooms had floor-to-ceiling windows that opened up to a panoramic view of the ocean. The sound of waves crashing became our nightly lullaby. Our suite had its own private plunge pool, and I remember feeling like royalty the moment we walked through the door. Everything was perfect. The first few days were blissful. We slept in, ordered breakfast in bed, lounged by the pool, took long walks along the shoreline, and laughed more than we had in months. It felt like all the stress of wedding planning, responsibilities, and life had been washed away by the Pacific. One day, we took a catamaran tour, where dolphins danced alongside the boat. We even got to snorkel near Malakini Crater. Nathan was full of energy, pointing out every fish and excitedly swimming after sea turtles. I wasn't too thrilled about getting my hair wet, but I stayed present for his sake, and I was glad I did. That evening, over a seafood dinner and tropical drinks, he took my hand and thanked me for joining him in something he loved. That was just the kind of person Nathan was, grateful, open-hearted, and endlessly kind. But it was on the 5th day of our honeymoon when everything changed, when something happened that would stay with me forever. The day had started like the others, peaceful, full of promise. We had planned a trip to Hana, famous for its breathtaking drive, waterfalls, and lush landscapes. We rented a red Jeep, left early in the morning, and set off on the winding coastal roads. Nathan was in his element, rolling the windows down, blasting 90s soft rock, and singing off-key just to make me laugh. I recorded him on my phone, capturing the carefree joy of the moment. The road to Hana was even more stunning than we'd imagined. There were twisting roads, hidden waterfalls, and roadside stands selling the sweetest pineapples I'd ever tasted. We stopped at the 7 sacred pools and swam beneath a waterfall. It felt surreal, like we were in our own private paradise. After a light lunch, we found a secluded beach, an incredible stretch of black sand with barely anyone else around. It looked like it belonged on a postcard. Nathan laid out a blanket while I walked along the shore, picking up smooth stones and seashells. When I turned back, he was waving at me, calling me over. "Come lie down with me," he said, grinning. I joined him on the blanket, and we laid there beneath the Hawaiian sun, whispering dreams about our future, imagining the children we might one day have, and laughing at how new we still were to marriage. I felt so full in that moment, of joy, of love, of peace. But that night, the peace shattered. As we began the drive back to the resort, a sudden storm rolled in. Heavy rain pelted the windshield, and the narrow roads quickly became slick and dangerous. Visibility dropped so low we could barely see a few feet ahead. I suggested we pull over, but Nathan, ever optimistic, wanted to get back before the weather got worse. I held onto the door handle, trying to stay calm. Then it happened. Something, maybe a deer, maybe something else, darted across the road. Nathan swerved instinctively to avoid it. The Jeep skidded, spun out, and slammed hard into a guardrail. Everything went quiet except for the ringing in my ears. The airbags had deployed. My heart raced. My vision blurred. I turned to Nathan, and my world stopped. He was unconscious, slumped forward against the steering wheel, a thin line of blood trickling down his forehead. I panicked, screaming his name, shaking him, begging him to wake up. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone and dialed for help. The operator's voice was calm, guiding me through questions I could barely process. All I could say over and over was, "My husband isn't moving." The ambulance came, though it felt like an eternity had passed. They loaded Nathan onto a stretcher, and I rode in the back, clutching his hand and whispering, "Please stay with me." At the hospital, they rushed him into emergency care. A doctor came out after what felt like the longest 30 minutes of my life. He told me Nathan had suffered a concussion and some minor internal injuries, but that he would likely recover fully. Relief crashed over me so hard I dropped to my knees and wept. For the next 2 days, I barely left his side. He eventually opened his eyes, groggy and in pain but alive. "Did we miss the rest of the honeymoon?" he asked with a weak smile. That was so him. Even hurting, he still wanted to make me laugh. I cried and laughed at the same time. The doctors advised rest and no flying for at least a week. So we extended our stay and moved to a quiet bed and breakfast near the beach. The pace slowed. We focused on healing. And that's when something unexpected happened. Something that would leave just as lasting an imprint on my heart. One morning, I went out to get a few supplies for Nathan. As I walked past a local cafe, I saw a young woman sitting outside, quietly crying. She looked completely lost. I couldn't just walk by. I approached gently and asked if she was okay. Her name was Lily. She had flown to Maui for what was supposed to be her honeymoon. But her fiancé had called off the wedding just days before. She came alone, hoping the island would help heal her broken heart. But the peace she hoped for hadn't come. We sat together for hours, sipping coffee and talking. I shared what had happened to Nathan, how close I came to losing him. She listened, eyes wide, and told me that hearing my story helped her realize how fragile and unpredictable life could be. And that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as broken as she thought. Over the next few days, I invited Lily to join us for dinner, for beach walks, for quiet moments on the porch. She became like a little sister. And Nathan, being the kind and welcoming soul he was, made her feel right at home. On our last night in Maui, the three of us watched the sunset together. It was quiet and beautiful. Lily turned to us and said she had signed up for a volunteer program in Thailand to start a new chapter. "Your kindness reminded me that good people still exist," she said softly. That moment meant more than any breathtaking waterfall or fancy hotel. It touched something deeper. When we finally flew home, Nathan still carried physical reminders of the accident, and I carried emotional ones. But we brought back more than just memories. We brought home a deeper kind of love, a new friend, and a shared understanding of how precious and unpredictable life truly is. I'll never forget what happened on our honeymoon, not just because of the crash or the fear, but because I made a choice in the midst of my own pain to open my heart to someone else. To give, even when I felt empty. And in doing so, I found a strength I didn't know I had. That's the part of love and marriage no one really talks about. It's not just about perfect photos or tropical sunsets. It's about showing up, even in the hardest moments. It's about reaching out, even when you're holding yourself together by a thread. It's about grace and kindness, and the quiet ways we help each other heal. And that, more than anything, is what made it unforgettable. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt tales like this one. Your support means the world to us. And we'd love to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced something that changed your life in an instant? We read every comment and truly appreciate your feedback. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next story.